Good afternoon and good morning to our attendees on the West Coast, and welcome to today's webinar on the topic of the AquaRise potable water piping system from IPEX, the cost-effective, time-saving alternative to metal systems. My name is Doug Picklick, editor of HPAC Magazine, Canada's leading business publication for mechanical contractors and their supply partners. Today's webinar, being presented by IPEX, will run about 60 minutes, including time for questions and answers at the end. So please enter any questions you have into the question section of the GoToWebinar control panel on your screen, and we will try to get to them all and still wrap up on time. Before we begin, I'm proud to introduce our speaker. Lorraine LaRose is a product specialist, hot and cold water at IPEX. Lorraine holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the University of Ottawa. Before joining IPEX, Lorraine worked for McIntosh Perry Consulting Engineering as a land development designer and inspector. Lorraine's primary focus at IPEX includes planning and coordinating all activities needed to bring hot and cold water products to market, educating market stakeholders, and working with customers. Once again, it is my pleasure to introduce Lorraine LaRose. Please take it away.
Thanks, Doug. So today, as Doug mentioned, I will be introducing the AquaRise potable water piping system to you. First, we will go through the agenda. So we'll go through a quick overview of what is AquaRise, its application, some of the features and benefits, the product availability, and then we'll dive a bit deeper into the system design, some of the consideration you have to keep in mind, the installation methods, and then some resources as to where you can find all of the information that I'll be providing today, and then just a quick overview of some of our new products and innovation from 2019-2020 and the IPEX Advantage. So first things first, as a little overview, when it comes to AquaRise, or when it comes to hot and cold potable water distribution systems, CPVC have been used in North America since around 1960, so almost 60 years. During that time frame, a few different potable water products have come into North American market. The three most common systems that are used today are IPS Schedule 80 system, CTS SDR11 system, and finally, IPS SDR system, which is what is AquaRise. So let me give you a bit more information on AquaRise. What is AquaRise? AquaRise is a full piping system solution designed exclusively for potable water application. It may only be used in potable water distribution system, and it may not be used in any other piping application. Using AquaRise for any other applications other than potable water distribution systems will void the warranty for AquaRise. When it compares to traditional metal systems, AquaRise proves itself to be a strong, highly engineered, and affordable improvement over traditional materials, being ideal for non-combustible buildings. Now, where can we use this product? So AquaRise is mainly used in apartment, condos, multifamily, indoor sports facilities, hotels, and so on. So those are what we classify as commercial types of buildings. Now, within these buildings, you'll find the products often installed in mechanical rooms, in parking garages, pipe shafts and riser mains, corridor branches and mains, and finally all the way into the suite where we can transition to other materials as needed. Now, I will be listing some of the many features and benefits today of AquaRise, starting with the fact that it's a fully certified system. So the first one of the four main standards for potable water is the CSA B137.6. AquaRise is certified to CSA B137.6, which establishes requirements for CPVC systems, having a standard dimension ratio of 11 for hot and cold water systems, and also SDR21 for use in cold water distribution. The following two are NSF standards, so NSF 14 and NSF 61. All CPVC piping products used in potable water systems must be certified to the health effects standards of NSF 61. The criteria for plastic potable water products to be certified to NSF 14 is that it must comply with the requirement of the CSA standard mentioned previously, and it must also comply with the health effects required as NSF 61. So there are both performance elements and health elements built into NSF 14. Certification of CPVC potable water products to these two NSF standards are requirements of the plumbing codes. Finally, AquaRise is also certified to ULC S102.2. ULC S102.2 is flame and smoke requirements that must be met in commercial building as per the National Building Code. S102.2 is the standard method of test for surface burning characteristics of flooring, floor coverings, and miscellaneous materials in assembly. The primary purpose of this test is to determine the comparative burning characteristics of the material or assemblies under the test by evaluating the flame spread over its surface when exposed to test fires. So when testing AquaRise, all this passes. So other than certification, one of the main benefits of using AquaRise is that it's a full system of pipe, valves, and fitting that is all available from one single source. Other benefits to using AquaRise for potable water applications are that CPVC is a strong, lightweight material. It is easily handled on a job site. CPVC systems resist rusting, pitting, scaling, and corrosions. Systems will remain efficient in a variety of service conditions. There's a high level of resistance to chlorine-based disinfectant that are found in municipal drinking water. And because it is a corrosion-resistant inert material, CPVC is the ideal choice for safely conveying potable water. Next, we have the SDR11 pipe thickness. So the SDR11 pipe thickness of AquaRise also provides uniform pressure ratings for all sizes at 400 psi at 32 degrees Celsius, which we will go into a bit more details once we discuss system design. Then AquaRise pipes and fittings have proper interference fit due to its tighter tolerances compared to industry standards. So it ensures that pipes and fittings will always fit together properly. Now, I'll go into a bit more details about some of the features and benefits and how they compare to traditional materials. So here we talk about chlorine resistance. So AquaRise has great chlorine resistance. The chlorine atoms found in CPVC protect the carbon backbone of what composes AquaRise, which provides superior chemical resistance to common chlorine-based disinfectants found in drinking water, such as chlorine, chloramine, and chlorine dioxide. The presence of chlorine-based disinfectant at elevated temperature in different systems can actually reduce the life of those systems. Now, when we talk about flow capacity, AquaRise pipes and fittings have larger IDs, inside diameters, compared to other systems. As you can see in the image below, AquaRise half-inch pipe is much larger than an AquaRise or half-inch PEX or copper pipe, which results in increased flow capacity of AquaRise. Ease of installation. So when installing AquaRise, it is fast, easy, and reliable, with a solvent welding joining method that reduces installation over time compared to copper system, where you would have to use flames. So there are no flames required during the installation, therefore no risk. And AquaRise, as I mentioned, is also lightweight and easy to handle on a job site. And unlike copper, CPVC has no scrap value on the job site, avoiding job site theft. Another benefit of AquaRise over copper is its insulating properties. The natural insulating properties of CPVC help reduce condensation, often eliminating the need for insulation on cold water lines, whereas copper has a highly likelihood of producing condensation. And as you know, water quality is of utmost importance for potable water systems. As I mentioned earlier, AquaRise is fully certified to NSF 61, and for all water conditions, might I add. It isn't adversely affected by hard water, as copper would be if the pH of water would be less than 6.5. Finally, before moving on to our AquaRise product offering, let me tell you a bit about our product quality. So AquaRise has tighter tolerances than the standards tolerances. We are almost cutting the spread of the spec to be 50% tighter than the standard. IPEX is also inspecting our fittings and pipes with one of the most accurate equipment, which is the CMM machine that has an impressive accuracy. And to finish all of that, IPEX completed 2 Six Sigma projects that have been implemented in our Toronto facility and in our Pineville facility to continuously improve the manufacturability of our products. Now, the product availability. All pipes and fittings are manufactured in sizes 1/2 inch through 4 inch. Pipes are manufactured in Pineville, North Carolina, and fittings are manufactured in Toronto at our Bermondsey facility. Pipes are available in both SDR 11 for hot and cold water and in SDR 21 for cold water only. Hot and cold water pipe will have a black print line with white wrapping, and cold water pipe will only have a white print line and blue wrapping. Both of the pipe are certified to the same standards I have mentioned earlier. As far as fittings, they're also available in 1/2 inch through 4 inch, and the same fittings will be used for both the hot and cold water pipe and the cold water pipe. We also have available a suite of specialty fittings and valves, such as the AquaRise True Union ball valve, one-piece ball valve, some adapters such as the CTS adapter, male and female bronze threaded adapter, and maintenance fittings, so maintenance couplings, repair threaded adapters as well, and flanges. And to complete the entire system, we make available a series of tools and 1- and 2-step cements. Now, when you're choosing the AquaRise system for a potable water system, what do you have to take into consideration? So system design, so the material properties have to be taken into consideration, and pressures and temperatures, sizing, flow capacity, expansion, contraction, supports and restraint, thermal conductivity, and chemical resistance. So let's begin with material properties. So AquaRise pipes, fittings, and valves are manufactured from our Temperite technology CPVC, which is teal blue in color. And CPVC offers increased temperature resistance that can withstand high water temperature for a prolonged period of time. Our CPVC is also BPA free and has excellent corrosion resistance, as I mentioned earlier. Pressure and temperature. So AquaRise can be installed in potable water application in ICI buildings, as I've mentioned earlier. And so your typical residential building, condos, hotels, and hospitals as such, which operates typically between 95 and 110. There are lower hot temperatures to prevent the possibility of scalding because there's obviously people using them. So where you'll start to see higher temperature in other types of commercial buildings, you might have to take that into consideration, as AquaRise has a maximum recommended operating temperature of 160 degrees Fahrenheit. The maximum operating pressure that goes along with that is 150 psi at 160. And although the temperature and pressures are limited, AquaRise is listed to 100 psi at 180 degrees Fahrenheit and complies with the model plumbing codes. Now here we'll go in just a bit of a breakdown for pressure and temperature of different components of the system. So for the pipe, as I mentioned, we have SDR11 for hot and cold water, and we also have SDR21. So the SDR21 will have a thinner wall and therefore will have a reduced temperature rating. So the pressure and temperature rating for the hot and cold water pipe SDR11 is 400 psi at ambient temperature and 150 psi at the elevated 160 temperature. Whereas for the AquaRise cold water SDR21, the pressure and temperature rating is of 200 psi at 73 degrees, and it is a cold water pipe, so there is no hot water pressure and temperature regulations here. Note that the AquaRise hot and cold SDR11 fittings will be used for the cold water SDR21 pipe here. Now, if we go into different components, now I have mentioned that the pipes are rated to 400 psi at 73, but so are the fittings, the one-piece ball valve, the threaded adapter fittings, the full pressure flange kit, and the maintenance coupling. At 200 psi, we have the SDR21 pipe. At 232 psi, we will have the True Union ball valve, and at 150 psi at 73, we have the unions and flanges. For system sizing, proper sizing is necessary to create a balance between flow velocity, volume, and pressure head loss in the system. A common design aid for sizing water distribution pipe is the unit fixture table, which you are probably familiar with. The use of a single fixture unit table may not be appropriate or applicable for piping with inside diameters smaller than the nominal pipe size. So CPVC CTS tubing can generally be used as a direct size-to-size replacement for copper tube. But that's not necessarily the case for IPS size CPVC systems. As you can see, the AquaRise pipe does have a larger inside diameter than a copper pipe, so a one-to-one replacement may not be suitable. For flow capacity, higher velocities can cause wear, noise, and water hammer in a system, so we do have to take them into account. Low velocities can also cause scale buildup. So the AquaRise maximum recommended velocity is 8 feet per second. So 8 feet per second also applies for recirculation loops in this case, which is our big advantage over copper. So if you look at PEX and copper system, you will see reduced flow velocities for recirculation systems. So please make sure to refer to your local code for the applicable standards in this case. To calculate the flow capacity, we do have a flow capacity calculator that's available on our website, and it's also available on the app if you want to download. Now, a subject that is top of mind for everyone when it comes to CPVC systems is expansion and contraction. The common solution to this problem of expansion and contraction is to absorb the change in length by building the flexibility into the system. So this flexibility can be built into the system by introducing change in directions, offset, expansion loops, and also providing proper pipe support, guides, and anchors. So designers and installers must anticipate and account for the total change in temperature between the time of installation and peak temperature of the AquaRise system. So to allow for movement due to expansion contraction, once again, we can use the change of direction, the offset, and the expansion loop. As you can see on these drawings, there is an L value that needs to be calculated for all of that. So you can use the calculator that's offered on our app as well as on our website. All of these calculations can also be found within our technical manual, and you can calculate them yourselves without the calculator. Supports and restraints. So as we introduce flexibility in our system, it's important to provide proper pipe supports and guides. They should allow for axial movement and should be positioned as such that sufficient lateral movement for change in directions, offset, and expansion loops can occur within the system. Anchors, on the other hand, will restrict the pipe movement in all direction, and it will actually help control the section of pipes that are allowed to move. So sometimes you do want to restrict that movement to a certain area within your system, whereas other times you do want it to have that flexibility and that movement. For horizontal piping, it must be supported as per the hanger support spacing chart that is found in our manual, that is also on the right-hand side here. And support should also offer lateral restraints with axial movement, and it must not damage the pipe. And we say that because as the movement happens, we don't want some of that rubbing on the pipe and creating some damage. Supporting horizontal takeoffs. So you should support your horizontal takeoff independently and as close as to the bottom of the riser as possible. The offset configuration should be used with at least one change in direction on horizontal tie-ins to the riser. So that allows the takeoff to be able to move, and so it's not restricting the riser to move as well. Now for risers on the vertical, so how can you support AquaRise vertically? So vertical pipe shaft must be supported at its base at each floor or every 10 feet, whichever is less. Vertical piping shall also have a mid-story guide firmly attached to the structure to prevent lateral movement while still allowing for that longitudinal movement of the piping to occur. So here we have the two methods to anchor or support AquaRise. So on the left, you see the pipe clamp, a coupling, and then the pipe. And on the right, you will see a coupling, the anchor, another coupling, and then the pipe. So that will allow, the anchoring will allow no movement up or down, whereas the supporting will allow movement in one direction. Now this brings us to thermal conductivity. So as you know, AquaRise expands and contracts. The rate of thermal conductivity of AquaRise is 0.95, which is 380 times lower than steel and 2,800 times lower than copper. The high thermal resistance of AquaRise greatly reduces the potential for condensation on the outside of the pipe. However, condensation potential should be calculated to determine the need for piping insulation. Typically, the need for insulation will depend on system parameters, including pipe material, pipe diameter and wall thickness, water temperature, ambient temperature, and relative humidity. There is less potential for condensation with larger pipe sizes where the wall is thicker, where there's a lower relative humidity and warmer water temperature. Therefore, there would be less condensation potential for a product like AquaRise. Consideration should still be given to the forming of condensation on AquaRise pipe. And to do so, there is a table found in the technical manual for condensation potential by size for various temperature, relative humidities, and air temperatures. In addition to all of the other design considerations, special attention should be given to chemical resistance of substances coming into contact with AquaRise. AquaRise is solely intended for use in potable water distribution. And as we discussed earlier, some of the main disinfectants found in water are chlorine, chloramines, and chlorine dioxide. The presence of chlorine-based disinfectant in drinking water can reduce the service life of other potable water systems. Service life reduction at elevated temperature and pressure, and the continuous recirculation of hot chlorinated water. So for AquaRise, we know that it has an excellent resistance to chlorine-based disinfectants, and so for chlorine, it's a non-issue. But Temprite technology, which is the compound that we use to make AquaRise pipe fittings and valves, can be damaged with contacts of other chemicals found in other construction products. So you must ensure chemical compatibility of the chemical with the AquaRise pipe, you can use the FBC System Compatible program or contact an IPEX representative before using a certain product, such as a gasket lube or even a fire stop material. The FBC System Compatible program offers a list of chemically compatible and chemically incompatible products with AquaRise that can be found under the TempRite technology compound. Finally, fire stopping. All penetration of fire-rated separations, such as ceilings and wall, shall be sealed with a fire stop device or system. Please make sure to always check with your local building code for fire stop requirements. There are numerous manufacturers out there that make fire stopping devices and products listed for use with domestic water or commercial water, potable water, such as AquaRise systems. So please consult with the FBC System Compatible program once again for any fire stop, or please contact the fire stop manufacturer directly for system compatibles with AquaRise. Now, in AquaRise installations, there are 3 joining methods for AquaRise. So the first is solvent welding. It is the most common one. Then we have threaded connections, flanged connections that can be used to join dissimilar materials or joining pipe to equipment. And finally, we have a mechanical coupling that can also be used for maintenance of the system or on pipe to pipe connections. So the first is solvent welding. I won't go into details about how we do a solvent cementing joint. If you do wish to have solvent cementing training, we do have that available. But for the moment, solvent welding is a permanent connection. It is not gluing. It does bond 2 surfaces together. It fuses them together. And a properly cemented joint is just as strong as the individual component, which is the fitting or the pipe. Only use AquaRise cement and primers on the AquaRise pipes and fittings. There is a 1-step cement for 1/2 inch to 2 inch, and then there's a 2-step cement that is primer and cement for 2.5 inch to 4 inch. And it's very important to always use the proper installation procedures, which is found in our technical manual, and also using the proper cutting tools and beveling tools to have the perfect joint. Threading. So threading is a mechanical connection. Please only use AquaRise threaded adapters when you do want to use threading. We have available male and female threaded adapters with NPT threads, and please only use Teflon tape and an 18-inch pipe wrench or smaller when making those connections. For flanging, flanging again is another mechanical connection that can be used to join dissimilar material. It has the same bolt pattern as metal flanges, and as any other flanges, use gradual tightenings of the bolt, and there is a recommendation to use flange gaskets that are approved for potable water with these flanges in between the 2 mating surfaces. Finally, we have the maintenance coupling, which is a mechanical joint that is ideal for quick pipe-to-pipe repairs. It's available in 1 inch to 4 inch sizes and can hold the same pressure and temperature as the system, being 400 psi at ambient temperature and 150 psi at elevated temperature. We do have torque wrench kits available on our price list for these couplings. And the coupling installation is also found within the manual. These couplings can be used for pipe-to-pipe connections, and we have also made available for the use with these couplings some repair and return to service fittings that are pre-assembled. So you would find a threaded adapter fitting or a flange with a stub of pipe that are pre-solvent cemented together. And so there's no solvent welding needed. You can just use the coupling and this pre-assembly, transition to another material, or even return the the system back to service right away. Now, I know I've given you a lot of information on the products, its features and benefits, and some of the installation methods, but where can you find all of that information? So the first resource to find all of that information is the AquaRise website. So we have a dedicated website that contains all of that information. So you can find on there the technical manual. We have some calculators, as I mentioned. We have some middle data sheets, installation videos. So especially with COVID right now, we all know how it can be a little tricky on the job site. So we have those installation videos available for you. We also have the price lists and BIM models available for the AquaRise product line. As I've mentioned, we also have the app available for your phone. So if you need to quickly calculate the expansion and contraction of the system or the flow capacity, it's all available on your device. To finish, I'd like to give you a quick look at our innovation, our most recent innovations and featured products for 2020, and the IPEX advantage that comes with all of this. So first, IPEX has an innovation team that continuously works with industry stakeholders to develop new products to ensure that the AquaRise product line is as complete as possible. IPEX has also recently added a dedicated full-time product specialist to the AquaRise product line, which is myself. And in the last year, we've developed many new products. The AquaRise Cold Water SDR21 for cost savings, the one-piece ball valve for areas where you do not need to service a valve, transition adapters and CTS adapters for better transitions. Our featured product of 2020 is the Cold Water AquaRise. It's a piping system that has been developed specifically for high buildings, industrial buildings, and commercial buildings. It's available in IPS diameters of 1.5 inch to 4 inch, and its maximum operating temperature is 200 psi at 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, what are the benefits of this product? So the reason why we've created a thinner walled pipe is that it expands market opportunity with a lower cost for cold water pipe. It's a lighter weight as well, and it uses the same fittings, valves, and cement for SDR21 and SDR11. So it's a cost-saving alternative for cold water only. And what is the full IPEX advantage that comes with all of this product line is that we have local technical reps, distribution center, and stocking plumbing distributors across Canada. We also have industry-leading product quality. We offer lunch and learn training sessions and on-site project support. We have company commitment to new product and innovation, a dedicated AquaRise product specialist, and partnerships with all industry stakeholders such as developers, engineers, municipalities, general contractors, subcontractors, distributors, and even end users. We truly believe that a true partnership is built on trust, where all parties can achieve success together.